This is the world that you know.
If you assume any rate of improvement at all, then the games will become indistinguishable from reality.
Since The Matrix became widely known 22 years ago, many people now believe that reality is merely an illusion, and that we are all truly lying in fluid-filled pods that provide nutrients for machines. Most people think it's outlandish and typical science fiction, but some scientists and philosophers think that The Matrix and its much-anticipated sequel, The Matrix Resurrections, address some important issues about whether we are indeed living in a computer simulation. So are we? Well, according to author Virk, who based his work on Oxford philosopher Nick Bostrom's 2003 book, in which he questioned whether or not we are actually living in a computer simulation, I think it's more likely than not that we are in some type of simulation. It makes the case that out of the three possibilities, the advanced civilization surviving long enough to develop the technology to create numerous virtual worlds is the most likely scenario. Virk says, this indication that there are multiple simulated realities and just one base reality. Therefore, which reality are you most likely to be in the 99 simulated realities or the one-based reality? You have a higher chance of being in the 99. In a theory that hasn't been proven, but it also hasn't been disproved. One of Virk's main points is based on physicist John Wheeler's concept of it from bit, which holds that each subatomic particle is a representation of a bit of information rather than energy or substance. Genes are just data, and we can essentially 3D print any object. This contributes to his wider claim that if the multiverse, the theory that every decision produced a different timeline, is true, it supports the idea that reality is digital rather than physical. He claims that nothing in nature can instantly duplicate a completely massive physical object, but it is quite simple to duplicate information and then use that information as needed. He also refers to the observer effect, a physics phenomenon whereby something can change just by being observed. If you just exist in one physical reality, that doesn't make any sense. But in video games, the world is only rendered when it's necessary to see it. That implies that reality only exists when it is perceived in our projected world. Similar to this, what or who is on the other side, supposing it's true that we're all inside of a computer simulation. Virk states that some people say it's aliens. The simulations in Bostrom's simulation argument are what he refers to as ancestor simulations, carried out by future incarnations of ourselves. It would be similar to us acting out the events of ancient Rome, and why on earth would they want to simulate our world? So why do we perform simulations? Generally, the goal is to consider many potential outcomes. For instance, we could simulate a nuclear war or climate change on a worldwide scale. To determine which scenarios are most likely to result in destruction, we might run it more than once. So how does the fact that we are living in a computer simulation change the way we live? Doesn't that render all meaningless? According to Virk, some people say, well, it doesn't matter what you do. It's not quite that for me. He stated that the act that he chose to play that game and some of its quests and challenges say more about him than anything else. And it wouldn't be a very interesting game if everything was easy. The simulation theory is sound, and we love Keanu Reeves, so it looks like we'd just better take the red pill. Nelson Mandela passed away in 2013, yet some people insist they recall the 1980s television coverage of his passing. So the Mandela effect is purportedly evidence that whoever is in command of our simulation is altering history. Instead, this may be proof that there are parallel universes and that some people have traveled from one, where Mandela died in the 1980s, to ours, where he survived until age 95. Other instances of this phenomenon include people remembering that the name of the Berenstain Bears children book series was spelled Berenstein, and that Shazam, the fictional 1990s film starring comedian Sinbad as a genie, never existed. In the well-known double-slit experiment in physics, electrons are shot through slits in a copper plate towards a photosensitive screen, typically resulting in an interference pattern that denotes wave-like behavior. Yet when the same experiment is carried out in front of an audience, electrons behave more like particles than waves, and no interference pattern is observed. Others have interpreted this to suggest that our simulation is using resources sparingly and only rendering particle objects when we are actively looking at them. An interdisciplinary team of academics at the University of Washington also revealed how they might incorporate dangerous computer code into real DNA strands in 2017. They wanted to demonstrate how easily hackers could compromise computers used for genome sequencing, but they might also have unintentionally exposed the fact that what we mistakenly believed to be biological reality was computer code all along. Our civilization is situated on the verge of environmental instability, which raises the possibility that we might be in a simulation of an ancestor made in the hopes that we would help our founders find a solution to an energy issue. This argument partially overlaps with the aliens as simulation quitters theory. If we came up with a creative way to solve the climate dilemma, aliens might come back to steal the ideas. Elon Musk is a supporter of Nick Brostrom's simulation hypothesis, which contends that if humanity can endure long enough to develop the technology necessary to run convincing simulations of reality, it will do so in great numbers, leading to a multiplicity of simulated realities and a single base reality, making it statistically more likely that we are currently living in a simulation. The coolness of modern video games, in Musk's opinion, is another evidence that we live in the Matrix. In 2016, he explained, 40 years ago we had Pong, 2 rectangles and a dot. After 40 years, photorealistic 3D is available with millions of concurrent players. The games will become indistinguishable from reality if any rate of advancement is maintained, even if it decreases by a factor of 1,000 from what it is currently. It is a given that we are unmistakably moving in the direction of having games that are identical to reality. The likelihood that we are experiencing base reality would appear to be 1 in a billion. Some have suggested that recent bizarre coincidences, such as Donald Trump's victory, Brexit, the 2017 Oscars envelope mix-up, and that year's 25-point Super Bowl comeback, could indicate that our simulation is broken or that someone is manipulating our situation. Theoretical physicist James Gates, who doesn't seem to be mad, claims to have found what looks to be actual computer code encoded in the string theory equations that describe the fundamental particles of our universe. Error-correcting codes, he claims, are what enable browser functionality. But why did they appear in the supersymmetric equation involving quarks, electrons, and symmetry that I was studying? The tight mechanics that govern our existence have been cited by MIT cosmologist Max Tegmark as potential proof that our world is a simulation. According to this idea, the maximum speed for information transmission inside the network of our simulation is equal to the speed of light, which is the fastest rate at which any particle can move. The case for living in a simulation may be more straightforward to argue than the case against it. According to nuclear physicist Zohre Davodi, cosmic rays, the most intense particle known to man, would look like endless beams if we were in base reality and like pixel-like bits if we were in a simulation. David Chalmers, a philosopher at NYU, disagrees that it is possible to demonstrate that humans do not reside in a simulation, stating that any evidence we receive may be simulated. Earth is located in what astrobiologists refer to as a Goldilocks zone, where it is neither too far from a star to be a Venusian hothouse, nor too close that greenhouse gases cannot trap enough heat to keep liquid water on the planet. It makes sense that our sim designers would put us in such a comfortable environment if they wanted us to succeed, which is why we live in such an orbital sweet spot. Paranormal events are not hauntings or alien encounters, but glitches in the simulation. A storefront may be present in a town one day and then disappear the next. Possible reasons include a pop-up or a slip between parallel timelines. A passenger in a car enters a new level of a computer game after noticing the word render in the sky. Elevators are a common location for glitch stories since the elevation change seems to favor dimensional slipping. Those who believe in simulations assert that we may have discovered the Planck length, the distance at which our understanding of gravity and spacetime is no longer valid, as the pixel-sized component of the universe. If our world is simulated, the Planck length would be equivalent to 1 bit of information or a pixel. The Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysicists joined 8,000 computers in 2018 to model our universe with 350 million light years and 13 billion light years of age. The fact that over 125 million copies of The Sims computer games have been sold in the first 10 years demonstrates that we find playing with simulations to be entertaining as well. It wouldn't be shocking if future humans decided to use more accurate simulations if and when they discover they have the ability to do so. Remember back in 2015 when everyone went crazy because we all looked at the same picture? Some of us saw a blue dress and some of us saw a gold dress? Or the 2018 Yanni Laurel controversy? There was also the less explosive blue, gold, white flip-flop debate in 2016. Well, whatever your opinions on volume, color saturation, or pitch, one thing was pretty apparent from these debates. We all exist in our own worlds. Maybe not. Probably our brain used memories from the past to construct a simulation of what we perceive as reality to process the bits of information that we are getting. To put it another way, there is no spoon. Alright guys, that wraps up our video for today. If you love it, give us a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button for more.